Listeners of Immersion Radio, this is your host, Gregg Everman, the founder, owner, and the only employee of Immersion Radio. Today, I've been getting a lot of requests from myself for, a lot of people love those, ships in, the ideas of, concepts. Like, for instance, a lot of people ship certain characters. You can take an example from anywhere. From the movie Kingsglaive, a lot of people ship Luna Freya and Nyx Ulrich. Relationship, if you're unfamiliar with that word. A lot of people would also ship Finn and Rey, or Kylo Ren and Rey. But shipping is something that happens very often in video games, movies, and basically any entertainment in general. So today I'm going to be trying some experiment building where we pretty much role-play some shipping. Okay, so today we are going to ship Rey and Kylo Ren together. These are two fan-favorite characters from admittedly bad movies. And as much as I hated The Last Jedi, I admit it was pretty much a zero. Very, very boring movie. That being said, there was one part which I thought was actually pretty good. It was one collection of parts, and that was almost the reliance Rey was having on this Kylo Ren guy, who obviously is a bad guy, and he never once makes a substantial play to becoming the good guy. But it still was kind of interesting how this Kylo Ren guy did seem to have a real connection to Rey, despite the fact that in The Force Awakens they'd only seen each other, I think, a grand total of once or twice, and there was no connection between them whatsoever, and I don't think anyone was shipping them at the time. But now it does seem to be a much more common thing. You can find plenty of artwork between Rey and Kylo Ren, the relationship between them. And Rey is kind of a bit more charming in The Last Jedi than she is in The Force Awakens. Again, I didn't really like much about The Last Jedi at all, but Rey was maybe one of the points that wasn't so bad. And Kylo Ren is, well, okay, he's a bit of a loser, and but he's a bad guy, and he does seem pretty charming in his own way. He does seem kind of like he's got a thing for Rey. Okay, so let's begin with so Snoke, Supreme Leader Snoke, is mental linking the two of them together, linking their minds together so that they can force talk to each other over the span of a lot of distance. So they're doing this, and at first they're not really getting along too well, and then they start talking after a while, just like chatting with each other. Rey starts questioning Kylo Ren as to why he killed his own father, whom she was starting to kind of get a thing for Han, I guess. Not very well established in the movie at all. The Force Awakens movie did a terrible job establishing this, but at the same time you do get the feeling that Rey was starting to get a bit of a feeling for Han, and then when Kylo Ren killed Han, his own father, she really felt angered by that, and she's quite ticked off at Kylo Ren. So he starts explaining himself that he needed to lose the weakness, and he needed to let the past die, as he's always talking about. And so they go into this for a while. Eventually they get kind of closer together to the point where they're even force communicating with each other almost peacefully now. She's asking him to help her find her destiny or whatever, and he decides to give it a shot, so she ends up going to him. She goes to the ship that he's on, and she's trying to convince him face to face to amend his ways and to help her join her, train her, help her out, but stop being a bad guy. Obviously doesn't have any plans on that, so he takes her right to Supreme Leader Snoke. Supreme Leader Snoke then pretty much pulls an Emperor on Luke Skywalker to her. The Emperor gave Luke the old chat of, "It is unavoidable, it is your destiny," and all that stuff. And then in the end, Luke, tries to pull his lightsaber on the Emperor, and then all that. But in the meantime, Snoke was basically giving Rey the same treatment, showing her the death of her own allied fleet outside of the window. And then when he tells Kylo Ren to kill Rey, instead of killing Rey, which probably would have saved him some trouble, but instead he kills Supreme Leader Snoke by he gets him, he jumps him, and Supreme Leader Snoke isn't prepared for it, and he gets cut in half by a lightsaber. And then Kylo Ren and Rey, who are both Force users, they attack Supreme Leader Snoke's his Praetorian guards. Now, this was a very unique fight, I thought, despite the fact that I thought the choreographing and the way it played it was not very good. At the same point, it was kind of unique, you know? You did kind of get a unique perspective. The entire room is burning down. Every time their lightsaber hits the wall, it lights on fire, and there's a lot happening. And the Praetorian guards, they're not really Force users, but they have unique weapons, and they're really trying to kill both Kylo Ren and Rey. So Kylo Ren and Rey are both fighting them off. In the meantime, Kylo Ren, because he's a master Force user, he's taking on like 6 or 7, and Rey, because she's a minor Force user, luckily she only has to take on 2 or 3. In the meantime, they're besting them one by one slowly. And eventually, Kylo Ren is being this one Praetorian servant is attempting to, you know, cut his head off, and then he gets thrown a lightsaber by Rey, and he activates it, killing the Praetorian servant, the Praetorian guard. Now, this is pretty. This does really feel like you really are starting to get a real feel for the ship in between Rey and Kylo Ren. You really do get more of a vibe going between them. They feel more like they see each other's movements pretty well, and they seem to be able to anticipate each other pretty well. They do seem kind of like they've got a bit of choreography together. So at this point, Ren then attempts to convince Rey to join him, and she's trying to tell him, you know, Ren, you're going insane here. And then at the end of it, they begin to fight over the blue lightsaber, Luke's blue lightsaber. They both try to grab it with the Force, and it won't go to either of them, and eventually it explodes, knocking the two of them out. And then at this point, Rey leaves. Now, I get the feeling that she didn't just leave. Now, while Kylo Ren was knocked out, she left, right? She took off. The convincing stage was over, and now it was just time to leave. But I don't get the feeling that the leave was as easy as that. She probably was brooding over it a little bit, like looking at him thinking, is he right, or am I right, or can I convince him that I'm right, or will he convince me that he's right? You know, she's doing a bit of thought about it. And so either way, then she takes off. And eventually she ends up helping the rebels escape a base that's under attack, and the concept just about ends there. So come the third movie, which I think is going to be just as bad as the first 2 movies. Honestly, I don't have that high of an opinion of them, but there are things about them that I liked. I'm just wondering if they should pursue this Rey-Ren courtship a little further. I'm just wondering if they should take this to the next stage. I honestly think it might actually be an interesting idea where the main protagonist Jedi girl and the main antagonist Sith guy, they're kind of like lovers. You know, I think that might actually add an interesting effect. You know, I mean, it's something I think a lot of fans would really go for, and I think it's something that might very much redeem the mistakes made by the first 2 movies. Because let's face it, the first 2 movies put Star Wars, the Disney saga, so far in the hole that I think it'd be very hard for them to pull out of it without pulling something a little bit risky. Now, for instance, I know there's a lot of political problems with a white man and a white woman, a white man and a white woman ending up together. No one wants to see that. It's not considered very politically just. It's considered very unpatriotic, I guess is the word I'm searching for. No one wants to see it, is what I'm saying. No one except for the excessively conservative people. I myself actually am kind of for it. I think that it would give us kind of a sense of that classic Star Wars that we saw from the 70s, you know, with Han and Leia. Surprisingly, I actually didn't really agree with the Han and Leia thing at all. That might surprise you, but yeah, I did think it was kind of creepy in some ways. I think the character Han Solo is a little bit creepy. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you know, practically, you know, forcing himself on Princess Leia, I don't really think that's how it works. You know, she didn't really ever consent to it until it was almost too late. But either way, the character Ren and Rey, I think Rey and Ren, Ren. I wonder what the thing would be, the word, the, you know, Rey Ren, or Kylo Ray. Kylo Ray. Yeah, that's got to be it. Kylo Ray. You don't get much prettier than that. That is really good. So the Kylo Ray. I think this could work pretty good. You know, you could make at the start of the third one, say, the rebels have escaped, and Kylo Ren is, you know, he's feeling pretty, you know, lousy about the fact that they got away. But then he starts thinking about the fact that, you know, he sure messed up with Rey. You know, just when he thought he could get her convinced, just when he thought that, you know, they might be on the same page, then he blew it pretty bad by, you know, saying that he wasn't going to join the light side. Meantime, I think on the other side, Rey is not exactly convinced that she wants to be a light side Jedi either. I think she herself is thinking like, you know, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. And I think she's having a lot of confusion. She thinks that maybe she is teetering towards the dark side. And because she doesn't really know why the light side is good and why the dark side is bad, because let's face it, Luke Skywalker didn't really show her much. I mean, he did a pretty lousy job of mentoring her. I think maybe this makes Rey a little teeter-tottery. She's thinking, well, maybe I should join the dark side, you know? And this might even be an interesting case, an interesting idea, one that we've maybe never seen before, and I'm just coming up with this as we're going, but I'm thinking here a bit. I'm almost thinking maybe Rey should be teetering towards the dark side while Kylo Ren is teetering towards the light side. So he's almost starting to have a bit of a change of heart, and she's almost starting to have a bit of a change of heart. So you're kind of getting this interesting idea going here. So I think at the end of the day, the two of them do start coming back to each other. In the meantime, a lot of events have happened, I imagine. I'm not really sure what happens with the Poe Damerons and the Finn and the Princess Leia's. I'm not really sure where they end up. Definitely, I would scratch a lot of ideas from The Last Jedi, like with that hokey casino place. I thought that was so bad. And then the giant camel things running all over the place, that was so bad. And oh man, there were just some so cringy things. And the fuel, and then and then light speeding through an enemy ship that's breaking the universe. Don't do that. Any true Star Wars fan will tell you, don't do that. But I do believe that there is a lot of potential still left. I don't know which movie I would try to make the third one more like. Probably the first one, but even that, it was pretty bad. But I would most certainly pursue the romance building between Rey and Ren. I thought that was one of the few redeeming points of The Last Jedi. I thought you really did get a kind of a chemistry build-up going. Rey really does seem scared and afraid and not really as strong as she should be, and she knows it too, and that's why she's turning to Kylo Ren, and he too seems very confused, and he's trying to figure himself out, but he thinks that he's got to be this main bad guy and that he has to kill his father and he has to do all this terrible stuff, and like it's almost like he's trying to fulfill a bill inside himself, when in reality it's it's the truth is that he just needs to stop and just say to himself, stop thinking, just forget about all this nonsense. So I think like at some point Rey and we'll say Rey and Finn head to like perhaps Kylo Ren is he's probably chasing them for a while, but I wouldn't want to go through the same thing that The Last Jedi went through. So I wouldn't make the chase happens over too long of a course of time. So maybe he captures, say, Rey and Finn, and he's trying to get Rey to shake her ways or something, and maybe in kind of her desperation, Rey starts actually falling for it. But then maybe in the meantime, something else is happening, which is convincing Ren that he's got to turn around. Like maybe, I don't think I'd make Luke as reappearing to him or anything, but I'd just make like, as she's telling Ren her story about how Luke Skywalker, they did that whole ordeal where Luke Skywalker was, he tried to kill Kylo Ren, and then Kylo Ren betrayed him, and then he burned the Jedi Temple and all that, and they went through all that. I would maybe make that that as Rey is kind of relaying it all to Kylo Ren, she's telling him that Luke didn't want to kill him. He just was scared, and he was afraid, and he didn't know what to do. Maybe as she's saying this, and she herself is getting converted, and she's thinking that maybe Luke was wrong. While this is happening, Ren is thinking that Luke was maybe right, and he's thinking, "Ooh, what have I been doing here? Maybe I've just been stupid, and maybe I've really just done this to myself. Maybe all this evil that's been building up inside me for all these years that I've just held on to and thought that it was the only thing I had, and that I wasn't good, and that there is no good, and the only good is to be bad like Kylo Ren." Because let's face it, he was putting on that mask just to hide himself pretty much. He wanted to feel more evil than he actually was. Maybe all this is really starting to make a change in Kylo Ren. He's thinking to himself, maybe I've just been a little silly. Maybe you could even make Han Solo appears to him as like a Force ghost. Now, I know Han Solo didn't have the Force, but maybe you could just make him, he appears as like, he appears with Luke, because he killed Luke, right? Well, he didn't kill Luke, but Luke kind of killed himself while stopping him. And so we could say ipso facto he killed Luke. So maybe Luke and Kylo Ren appear to him and they say like, yeah, you've been thinking all your life, or at least for the last, while, that there's this grand, everyone's out to get you, and that in order to fully master the Force and all that, you really have to betray everyone. And you really have to do the evil thing, and you have to fully embrace the dark side and everything that comes with it. But in reality, you're just scared. You're just like a scared kid. You're like a little boy who's running away from the school bully, even though it was just someone trying to, give him a snack or something. And he thought it was the school bully. You're running because you're scared. And so then he starts going like, he starts, as he's training Rey, most certainly emphasize the training Rey part, because you could really get a lot going here. They maybe even fall in love at some point here, where, they really start, they really think highly of each other at this point. They're really, they both very much respect that each other are confused Force users, and that they're both just looking for their path. And he's convinced at the beginning that it's through the dark side. And because she's confused, she's thinking, well, maybe he's right. Now, she did, at the end of The Last Jedi, acquire a lot of the light side's Force power. But that doesn't mean that she's any less confused. I think she's still just a little scared, right? Now, they did try to say that she was losing a lot of the confusion. Near the end of The Last Jedi, they did try to explain that Rey was starting to figure things out, and because she was getting a lot of Force power, she was coming closer to understanding where she fit in all this. But I still think it could be a point you could easily explore, that she's still very confused. And I don't think anyone really mind. It might even almost be appreciated. You would have to do it in a convincing way, and in a lot of The Last Jedi, things were executed in a very unconvincing way. We saw this a lot, where a detail or a plot point would just happen that was very unexplained, did not fit in very well with the Star Wars universe, and just generally didn't go over well with fans as a result. Now, you could easily turn this around just by hiring a good director and a good story writer. But to get back to the Kylo Rey of the matter, so I think they are falling deeply in love with each other. There's probably a romantic scene or two, and not one of those cringy romantic scenes from, say, Attack of the Clones, which we all know and love. But, a scene much more fulfilling, a part where, there's a lot of dramatic music playing, and a lot of, where to the point where they're almost just leaning into each other for support. Now, like I said, Rey is leaning into Kylo Ren in the wrong way, and as the movie progresses and we near like the halfway points and all that, I think as Kylo Ren is starting to finally turn the bend, he starts saying to Rey, well, like, maybe we're wrong, maybe we're both almost at the same point right now, right? I'm starting to level out in the light side direction, and you're starting to level out in the dark side direction. So we're right now both about at the same point. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's not as complicated as we're making it. We're thinking that there's this grand complication where you just can't ever know what you're supposed to do, and maybe it's not that hard at all. Maybe you just have to try to do the right thing. That's really all you have to do. All you have to do is lean towards good, things that are good in this world. If you believe in the light side, and you think that it's the ultimate good, then you have to choose it. If you believe in the dark side and you think that it's the ultimate good, then you have to choose that. And obviously the dark side is not the ultimate good, as he himself has found out quite plainly. And so I think then, at this point, it almost goes the other way around. Now this could be really cool, right? I mean, I think fans would just be eating this up. Where Rey starts saying to Kylo Ren, how can you believe that now? Like, you and I have been through so much together, and you know, we love each other, and we both agree that the light side just can't be the good side. And how can you say that now? Like, what does this mean? What are you saying? And this might be where you could get a bit of, you know, eventually an action scene going, but before that, a lot of drama, a lot of, you know, Kylo Ren having to almost firmly turn to the light side throughout their conversation, like saying, well, we have to do this. Like, Rey, this isn't, we can't keep ignoring this. This has to happen. She's telling him, no, I've made my choice, and you chose to be with me. Now, isn't that where this ends? Doesn't it end with you and I both, you know, forging almost our own universe? And they have planned this too, I would think. They've planned on being the new, master and mistress of the universe, you might say, or of the galaxy far, far away, where they forge a new path. They don't choose the dark side or the light side. They're not in this for anyone. They're in this for each other, and they're trying to make the universe what they think it should be together. And you know, because he's in charge of the First Order, you've got all that cool drama where they can actually do it. And they're almost like the couple who's going to be ruling the galaxy when this is over. And I think at this point, Rey starts saying to him, like, this is wrong. I can't let you do this. And in the meantime, he's saying, well, we have to do this. This is all, like, this is where our destinies have been leading us. It has to end with us being on the good side. It just has to, because he figures he's been ultimate evil before, and that didn't work. He has to end up on the ultimate good side. And so I think at this point, yeah, they do get into a lightsaber fight, and this could be really cool. Get a lot of emotional drama going, where you could finally be playing one of those heavy emotional scores. Like in the lightsaber fight in Revenge of the Sith, we had a lot of emotional music playing. And when Luke attacks Darth Vader in Rage there in Return of the Jedi, we had a lot of the sound score written by, everybody knows who it is, but for whatever, John Williamson. Why can't I remember his name? It doesn't matter. It's just phenomenal. All Star Wars soundtracks are written by him, but it's just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal music, and it really gives you the emotion of the part. And so during the fight between Rey and Ren could just be incredible. Now, I believe it or not, I actually think Rey should win. I know a lot of people would disagree with me, and a lot of people would say, oh, you're just pushing for women's rights. You're just trying to say that women are, superior to men or whatever. I actually think I would, though, make Rey wins the fight. I think I'd make she wins, but Kylo Ren is obviously not dead. Maybe Finn gets him out of there, because Finn's been trying to help Rey out too, but she doesn't want to hear it from him. And I think maybe Finn bails Kylo Ren out of there. And in the meantime, so Kylo Ren, when Huxley learns of this, maybe his name's just Hux? If his name's just Hux, I'm gonna be so mad. Anyway, so Hux, I think General Hux, he decides not to, because he's always hated Kylo Ren anyway, and he never wanted him to be the new supreme leader. He hates Kylo Ren. He thinks he's a little wimpy little boy, just this stupid kid. And when he finds out that Rey is going all in, of course he sides with her. So I think she becomes the new ruler of the First Order, and Kylo Ren he flees into exile. But now, though she's the leader of the First Order, obviously she's not 100% all in. I don't think Rey is ever all in. I think she's still, I think she's very mad, and she's in a rage more than anything. She's more or less just losing her mind. So I would say a lot of action stuff happens here, where the First Order and the what's left of the Resistance have to duke it out. Obviously Rey is leading the charge against them. I'd make it happens mostly on a fairly cool set design, maybe like try to bring an old favorite back, like maybe bring Coruscant back. I've thought about it. I don't think so. I wouldn't bring back an old favorite from the original 3 movies like Hoth or Endor or Yavin 4. I don't think I'd bring any of them back, and nor would I make another Death Star magically appears out of nowhere. Oh, look at that! 3 Death Stars have appeared before now, and look, a 4th one just spawned over there. No one wants to see that again. Come on. So what you might end up having to do is make like well, let's think here. You could do... I would just do a fleet battle, but you would have to make, like, the Resistance get back up from somewhere. Maybe that guy in The Last Jedi, that hokey gangster guy who betrayed Finn and, what was the Chinese? Rose? Rose? Yeah. He betrayed Finn. Maybe he, comes around or something. He did seem like a bit more of a character than everyone else in there, so you might want to do something with him. But either way, I would make, the Resistance do get a bit of a fleet put together, and they do make an attack against the First Order, and it's a very strong attack to the point where they do a lot of, they do a lot of damage, but they're still dying off. And then I'd make, of course, in the end, it has to end with Kylo Ren, returning. Now, he's probably got his old, I think he had a blue lightsaber. Yeah, he had a blue crossguard lightsaber. Now, that'd be pretty cool. So I think he takes his blue crossguard lightsaber with him, and he goes to confront Rey one last time. This time he's on the good side. Kylo Ren is officially a good guy, and I think at this point he's thinking to himself like, I might even have to kill Rey if she doesn't stop this right now. So the Resistance fleet is dying off, so Kylo Ren bravely goes back in. He probably takes Finn or Poe with him again. I'm guessing Finn comes with him. Finn did seem like he had a bit of, plus because he's an ex-stormtrooper, maybe he's able to sneak Kylo Ren in there very well. Because Kylo Ren's a big shot. He doesn't look for, secret tunnels and stuff, whereas maybe Finn did because he was just some sort of buzz boy back when he was a stormtrooper and he knows all the ins and outs. I'd even make him get his old stormtrooper armor back and all that. He has to play the stormtrooper part again. It would be a lot of iconicness there. And in the meantime, Poe Dameron is leading the charge along with Princess Leia. They're fighting back for all their worth. In the meantime, so Kylo Ren, of course, he has to go back in and confront Rey. So at this point, somewhere along the way, he probably has to kill General Hux, and probably a big dramatic part. And I'm guessing Rey is just sitting back watching the whole time or something. And she's just like, she just feels so betrayed by him that she's just in this, huff. She almost just can't stand it. It's like, how can you be, you're falling into one of the, you might say, into one of the stereotropes again. There's the light side and the dark side. The light side are good guys, the dark side are bad guys. She doesn't believe in that, and she can't believe how he believes in it now, despite the fact that he was one of the biggest advocates of, that they couldn't necessarily know what they had to do. And he himself was confused, but he's lost that confusion. So he probably gets into another fight with her now she's got a red lightsaber and he's got the blue one. So, the tables have turned, whereas halfway through the movie it was, her blue, him red. Now it's the other way around, and it might be a really cool effect. So I'm guessing like the ultimate lightsaber battle happens here. Maybe in the first one she beat him pretty quick. Like maybe she swung the first blow and cut him in the arm or something. So he kind of he wasn't able to fight back against her. But in the meantime, Kylo Ren in this one, he's back in full health, so they're going all out. This is an all-out battle, and he knows that he might have to kill Rey at some point. So they're just slashing, and the big sound of his crossguard lightsaber is just everywhere. All that boom boom. Her saber makes the probably just the regular sound, but maybe with a bit more of a Sith touch to it, a bit like Dooku's lightsaber or something, maybe. From Attack of the Clones. Not a good movie, but it did have its moments. So we're getting a lot of stuff going. In the meantime, the most dramatic battles are happening outside. Poe is pulling the best shots he's possibly got. You could even make Poe kills Hux, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Or even if he doesn't kill Hux, maybe like just the entire resistance kills Hux, like Hux's ship goes down, you know, crash landing on the planet or whatever. I would actually probably make this an in-atmosphere fight, because Star Wars does seem to do that pretty well. And even though Star Wars is about space battles, hence Star Wars, I do think that this battle might very easily take place inside a planet or something, and I think that would add a lot of atmosphere to the part. But in the meantime, so the battle's just raging outside, and X-Wings are going down, TIE fighters are getting blown up like crazy, Star Destroyers are crashing, Resistance cruisers are, you know, detonating, and, you know, you could make, I don't think I'd make Princess Leia dies. I think that's just too, cliched. Like, first one Han, second one Luke, third one Leia. I think that's kind of ridiculous. But what I might make is, you know, Princess Leia, her ship does get shot up pretty bad, and she had a lot of feuds with Poe in The Last Jedi, which I thought were just beyond absurd. I thought they were so stupid. But at the same point, you still have to legitimize it, because unfortunately it happened, and it wasn't an official movie, if you want to call The Last Jedi official. But because we are kind of making this, we'll have to say it's official-ish for now. I would make Leia, she does have to rely on Poe a little bit more than she would like to, and as a result, Poe, he does kind of redeem himself and stop being such an idiot, and he does indeed do his job to the point where they are fighting back pretty well, and maybe holding the First Order off long enough. In the meantime, they're just hoping Kylo Ren can do it in there. So he's fighting away with Rey, and I'm guessing at some point she beats him again, more than likely. It seems that she has more control over the Force than he does, so she probably beats him again, I'm guessing. But then just before she can slay him, you'd have to get like a heroic scene where Finn comes in, you know, to intervene. You know, he probably has, it'd be nice if he could have a lightsaber again, wouldn't it? I mean, wouldn't that just be grand? Maybe like he's got one of the Praetorian Guard sabers or something. I don't know, maybe he's got some, but other way, like he's trying to tell Rey, like, you know, whoa, Rey, listen, this is stupid, like, listen to me. And, you know, but she's just so incensed that she probably kills him, I'm guessing. Okay, now that does seem pretty, you know, deep. You know, it does seem that Rey would never just kill someone, right? Maybe it's more of an accidental thing. Like she was just trying to force push him back or something, but it went a little bit too far. You know, he got impaled or something. I don't know. You'd have to think of some pretty cool scenario, but either way, I think she accidentally kills him. And then Kylo Ren says to her, like, this is where it leads to. You know, just like I had to kill Han Solo, my father, this, in the same respect, you've just killed, you know, Finn, one of her best friends, you know, pretty much the only friend she ever had. And so I think at this point she's thinking, oh no, like what have I done? I can't, you know, I can't do this. This is way more than I wanted it to be. So I think, of course, she says to Ren, like, what do I do? And he says, well, we've got to go all in with the Force. You know, Luke didn't understand it. Yoda didn't understand it, apparently, according to The Last Jedi. But I think we've got to go all in with the light side. It's where it ends. It has to end all in with the light side. So now, this is the part where you could get some really cool drama. You could make that when two Jedis, or did I just say Jedis? You could make like when two Jedi who are exceptionally powerful in the Force, and one of them, you know, Kylo Ren could even fool Supreme Leader Snoke into, you know, killing him, and Supreme Leader Snoke is so powerful, so Kylo Ren must be pretty powerful. In the meantime, Rey is also very powerful because she learned how to use the Force in just a couple days. You know, who else has ever done that? I know it sounds silly, but they did it, so I think we can legitimize it by making it cool. So you could make that together. They can almost like become the Force or something, like with each other. They can almost like you might like you would have to make something incredible, like when they join hands and they're on the same side again. Their power combined is enough to pacify the First Order and you know, tell the Resistance to stop fighting. Like it's just incredible what they can do together. You'd have to make is just beyond unbelievable. You know, they were the ultimate two Jedi, pretty much. Jedis. And you know, I mean, it's almost like a story of love too. You know, I mean, you really get that element in there, and I think that would really get a lot of fans. You know, you would really feel it for sure, and you know, the Kylo Ren fans would just be up in arms. You know, you'd have to love that. I myself am even a bit of a Kylo Rener. You know, I kind of would like the idea of it. In the meantime, pretty much everyone else. As for Rose, well, tough character. I don't know. You'd have to try to fit her in somewhere. Maybe she's Finn's girlfriend or something like that. I don't know. Maybe not. You know, maybe I guess she kind of is at the end of the second one. She kind of was. I didn't think she was that great of a character, but she is what she is. So you know, maybe you could fit her in minor parts. And as for any other characters, like I said, Hux probably doesn't get the biggest role, but he does get a role. And Princess Leia, I would say, gets probably a fairly sizable role, being in the Resistance Fleet, and Poe Dameron, of course, also gets a very big role. And Poe Dameron also does like some heroic stuff. I don't think he ever dies, but he does do some heroic stuff. So it probably ends with Kylo Ren and Rey, you know, kind of making amends for their past lives, almost, like for their mistakes. They probably end up having to like almost become one with the Force and like make the Force like whole again or something. I don't know, but you could do a lot of stuff. They did raise a lot of questions in The Last Jedi. Most of them were not so great questions. But they did raise a lot of questions, and I'm sure there's a lot you could do in that spirit of things. You know, you could try to answer a lot of them by saying good is where it ends at. You know, it does end with the light side of the Force, not with the dark. We were both confused. We both were confused. We both thought there was like this gray side of the Force. You hear that word a lot. But in the meantime, no, there's just the light and the dark side, and we both had to admit that the light side is most certainly the better side. So they both become, I don't know if they both become one with the Force, but they most certainly almost like enhance the Force through their own abilities, and they probably end up together. You know, obviously people would, you know, you'd have to make that, and they probably, unless some stupid bunch of sequels come along, they probably live happily ever after. And most of the other characters do as well. All the surviving characters do as well. And so I think that would be the end result of the Kylo Ren fanfic idea, which I would very much like to see in the 9th movie. The 9th movie is going to be really bad anyway. Why don't we just try to spruce it up with something that's very classic, feels very much in the Star Wars universe, and very dramatic, and really feels like the third one in a trilogy, the epic one, the one where it has to end big. And all throughout the movie, you think you know how it's going to happen, but then when, you know, the tables have turned and Rey is the bad guy and Ren is the good guy, and you're going, what? Like, how are they going to resolve this before the end? You know, and you really get the final feel for it. So that's my take, and I hope you've enjoyed. And if you agree, write it in the comments below, and do some of your own fanfics. These things are pretty fun. I'll see you soon. So long.